What's the biggest problem with premillennialism? I propose the biggest problem with premillennialism is that they read the book of Revelation like modern science fiction. They read it literally. For example, in Star Trek, if there's an alien that comes, literally it's supposed to be an alien. It's not supposed to represent anything else. It's supposed to be read or understand or watched literally. But the book of Revelation was written by an old Jewish man on a Greek isle. It's a totally different genre. Wouldn't it make more sense to look at other Jewish apocalyptic literature in the Old Testament, see how those things were fulfilled, and then use that as a guide to help us to understand the apocalyptic literature in the New Testament? Well, I would like to show you a couple examples briefly. First, I'm going to show you something in the book of Revelation that proves that we can't really read it just literally. Then I'm going to show you something in the book of Revelation that is mirrored actually in the Old Testament and show you how that was interpreted and understood in the Old Testament clearly to show you how that understanding does not fit our modern sci-fi genre. So first, Revelation 6:13, and the stars in the sky fell to the earth as figs dropping from a fig tree when it is shaken by a strong wind. Should we take that literally? The stars will actually literally fall from the sky? Well, I'm not trying to set up here a straw man argument because I've actually never met a premillennialist that proposed that. In spite of the fact that they tout themselves as being people that take prophecy literally, 100%, we take it literally and it follows through and this and that. In spite of the fact that they say that, they often interpret that passage figuratively and say, oh, it's nuclear bombs or this or that. Well, that's not what the text says. And so we can see just from this one example that the book of Revelation does not follow a literal interpretation, a literal sci-fi genre kind of thing. All right, so let's look at one that's mirrored from the book of Revelation, or actually from the Old Testament into the book of Revelation, and that's Revelation 17:4. That's where it says, the woman was dressed in purple and scarlet, and was glittering with gold, precious stones, and pearls. And of course, that's the woman that rides the beast. A literal woman? No, of course not. How should it be interpreted? Well, in the Old Testament, this isn't the first time we met a woman in scarlet, an unfaithful woman. Actually, in the Old Testament, there's a character like that. In Jeremiah 2:20, all the way to chapter 4:30, there are different passages that talk about a harlot. And it calls Judah a harlot, the tribe of Judah, in chapter 2, verse 20, on whose skirts is found the lifeblood of the innocent, chapter 2, verse 34. She is dressed in scarlet, chapter 4 and verse 30, and her lovers will despise her and kill her, just like in the book of Revelation, what happens to that woman wearing scarlet. And that is in Jeremiah 4:30. Also in Ezekiel, a immoral scarlet wearing woman appears, not scarlet wearing, but with a cup in her hand. Ezekiel 23:31 through 34. Jerusalem is seen as a harlot with a cup in her hand. Were these real literal people, or did they symbolize something? And what did they symbolize? Interestingly enough, they symbolized the Jewish tribes and Jerusalem. So if we consider that, we should use that to help us interpret the book of Revelation. Let's have the Bible interpret the Bible for us. So what's the biggest problem with premillennialism? Trying to read it with our modern genre of science fiction in mind. I'm Jim, And this is the end times from a positive biblical perspective. Like my video, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.